We talked a couple nights ago, and you thought that the verdict would come in today, Friday, at 4:30, because you were a prosecutor, and you said juries often on Fridays at 4:30 decide, we could have the weekend. It was a day earlier. Were you surprised that it came in so fast?
A little. That's the kind of fine-grained judgment that is really hard to make in a vacuum. But, I think in retrospect, we can see that what on Wednesday looked like maybe just setting the table and drawing their breath was, in fact, a full-on focus on the defendant, on Trump himself.
In terms of what they asked for, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
That's right. So, this was tea leaves, but it was consistent with, starting at the beginning of the story, it was consistent with corroborating Cohen as they had to do under the law. But I think it was, and I actually thought this at the time, most consistent with a focus on Trump, particularly because a little noticed detail, they asked for headsets as well. They wanted to listen to something. And when you thought about everything else, the McDougal calls they were asking for, it struck me they wanted to listen to Cohen's tape of Trump. So all those things zeroed in on Trump, and in two ways. First, showed him to be a liar as far as McDougal went, and I think that made him, all they needed to know he was lying about Stormy Daniels. But second, and more importantly, it was a repeated command by Trump, work through Cohen. So it both showed him as the moving force and showed Cohen as having the exact role he said he played and the DA said he played. So with that, if you think of it that way, they were, in a gallop when we thought they were in a trot come to Wednesday. And so, 2 days, 3 days, that's all consistent. But a little quick.
But you weren't shocked. You weren't shocked.
No. Certainly wasn't
Yeah.
shocked. And, a little quick for this kind of fairly complex case. But the thing about this case, even if you're being methodical about it, you done one, you done 34.
Yeah. And now the 34 counts that he's guilty on were many the same thing over and over again.
32 identical, and even the other two pretty close. So that's right. Be very weird if they'd have gone, if they'd split the verdict, as some people were speculating. I felt confident once we knew there was a verdict that they were going to run the table.
Now, I asked you if you saw any of the press conference he showed today. It was at Trump Tower, which was an odd choice.
Man, that guy is dark, isn't he? I mean, it feels almost to me, I don't want to wax over poetic, but it feels like biblical or Armageddon. Here is the rule of law coming through, and then here is this almost satanic figure just fulminating and basically saying this is meaningless, it's bullshit. November 5th is the real test. And of course, November 5th matters a lot, and the country could completely demolish itself. That's democracy. But this is a true and important judgment that was rendered while these kinds of hailstorms were swirling around the jury and the judge and the like. It just worked like clockwork. I'm a law guy, longtime prosecutor, but I felt misty-eyed almost about just the whole process having run as it's supposed to.
He said this. He said that the judge. He really went after the judge. Said it was a crooked judge.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder how this affects sentencing, by the way. But with him, I don't think it does, probably. He said that the judge wouldn't allow us to have witnesses, and he wouldn't allow us to speak. And of course, he was allowed to speak. He used that gag order as an excuse for not speaking once. But I mean, he's just lying all over the place.
He's a lying liar, and the lies he told, right? Look, anybody who was in that courtroom of any stripe, pro-Trump or otherwise, saw Merchan as a really solid, steady steward of the law and gave him every option. He didn't testify. Now, in the courtroom, you can't comment on it. In the outside world, what's the deal? If you felt this way and you were wrong, why not take the stand and explain it to the jury. But all this stuff, couldn't be more bullshit. And anybody who was there, and it's a shame that the trial wasn't televised, but really gives Merchant high marks for his steadiness. The few times that he did get really upset, he cleared the court. He did not prejudice the jury. He's a pro of real, adult judgment and maturity. And to your question of will Trump's total, day in, day out, absolute pillaring of the judge matter on sentencing? Probably not. Because he's a mature guy. But what does matter, would matter with any other defendant is if somebody is unrepentant. Has he shown that, in fact, he understands that has he been brought to heel by the law? And Trump, it's like he would explode, right? I mean, it's just not in his DNA. And so when he has to sit down like any other, person in the system, the maw of the probation office, when he has to go before Merchan, he's going to be the very picture of the unrepentant defendant, and that matters. So I expect, based on not his total insulting of Merchan, but based on his overall approach to the charges, that the probation office is going to recommend. This is a charge, Al, that like usually you don't get much, but you could get a few months.
Does he meet with them before sentencing?
100%. He has to sit down, and he's a convict now, so he sits down in like a grubby government office, and they ask him, how he feels about the charges, etc., and he's going to fulminate, and that'll be in the report. And then the DA, I think, will ask for what would be a big sentence here, which is not a big sentence, but say 4-6 months. And my best guess is applying neutral principles that would apply to anyone and be unrelated to the personal attacks he's fielding every day. Merchan will give him a couple months. Now, just to be clear, no, he'll never see the inside of a cell for a couple years. So the November 5th does, loom large there. But look, the rule of law isn't supposed to solve everything or be all pervasive in our lives. That's like communism, right? It's there when you need it. It worked. It's the case that the people overall could somehow try to wipe this off the books. Fine, but the rule of law functioned impeccably at just as designed under a lot of stress. That's an important and good day. It doesn't mean that we're out of the woods, but it's an important and good day.
July 11th is the day of the
sentencing. So he'll sit down with probation before then.
And you are thinking a few months.
My best guess is a few months, and just quickly to play it out legally. First of all, he's a convict now. That's got a lot of implications. He, it's problems with right to vote, perhaps, travel, all that shit. Though maybe not until it's finalized.
Would he be able to travel to another country?
He'll have to ask permission. And presumably Merchan will give it.
Europe welcomes former President Trump today.
And here's my note from the judge. I can go. But, in the trial, he let him go to Barron's graduation. He didn't let him go to the Supreme Court argument, right? It's up to Merchan. Anyway, and Merchan is not going to want to be a dick about it. He'll very much not so. He doesn't want to cause an extracurricular kind of dispute. But the point I was getting at is it'll be a couple years until the door slams on Trump. By that point, either he'll be president and trying to take a wrecking ball to the system any way he can, or he'll be a multiple defendant, probably facing, I'm not sure if in a perfect world where you were just deciding what's best for the country, that you would do it this way. But he's got, if he doesn't win, an appreciable chance of dying in prison,
because all the other cases will.
Yeah, they're gonna happen. Even Eileen Cannon, she can delay, but the whole timeline, the whole crisis point of November goes away. So if he doesn't win on the 5th, those cases lie, ready to bring.
Oh boy, it makes things sense.
Next thing that happens is he sits down with probation. And then July 11th, he faces the music.